Well. Woke up to a little bit of snow this morning. It's already melting though. So, yay! Hello and welcome back. And welcome to the train. Every time I try to shoot the video, train honks. When I'm not shooting video, I don't hear one train. Somebody told the train driver to honk if they were horny. Perfect. This valley is so open. When they do blow their horn there, boy, it goes everywhere. So it's so open. I mean, we're talking. It's about 60 miles to the mountain range off behind me there. So, yeah. Anywho, and with that said, hello and welcome back, everybody. And if you're new, welcome to Jeremy's Garden, a documentary about my life buying some land and trying to live self-sufficiently, off-grid, as much as I can. So, yeah, I don't know, I needed an adventure in my life. Yeah. Stick around. Let's get into it. Jeremy, question. How do you upload videos when you're living out here off-grid and all that? Do you have cell service? How you doing it? That's a really good question. You may be able to hear a little bit of a rumble of a train driving by. Now, where there be trains, there's generally radio towers and cell towers out there. So I do get some LTE and mostly 5G signal coming from the cell tower. It's over by the train track, which is about 3 miles that way. So it's a ways off, but it's close enough that I'm getting signals bouncing. Plus, there is also a main roadway about 2 miles off in that direction, which also has cell towers along it. So between the two, I'm pretty good as far as that. And otherwise, I also have Starlink satellite service, which I can only run when I'm running my generator, but that is also another option that I have, especially when I want some big bandwidth to be able to, do stuff, like upload videos. Jeremy, question. In your last video, building a cabin foundation, I couldn't help but notice that you were only using 2x4s as your actual floor joists. Why isn't that? Why did you do that? Wouldn't you normally use a 2x6? Yes, normally you would use a 2x6 or a 2x8 even if the span difference was, depending on the span between your floor joists. Now remember, I'm only building 8-foot wide walls, and I should point out first of all that I should have maybe labeled the video guest cabin / storage, or more appropriately storage building / guest cabin, because primarily it's going to be storage. It's going to be my storage. Whenever I have friends or family, they will then have the option to stay in a guest cabin. I can set it up for them to be their own little private personal space, for a weekend or a week, so I don't need big 2x6 floor joists, especially on an 8-foot span. And if you went down and bought any pre-built shed, it's going to have it's going to be 2x4s. Plus, it's not just floating 2x4s across an 8-foot span. I have cinder blocks under each one of those floor joists. Unfortunately, the video part where I was putting in the cinder blocks, and before I got to started doing all the subfloor, the camera had been blown over by the wind, so that part never made it into my video, and now they're covered with the subfloor, and I wasn't going to take the subfloor off just so I could do that, especially when that last third sheet of subfloor, I fought for an hour and a half to get that thing on, because it was just bowed just ever so slightly that the tongue and groove part didn't want to go together. So there are cinder blocks. Now I could have, run one cinder block across each beam just down the center. Okay? But what I did is I ended up putting 2 cinder blocks down, so that there is actually 2 cinder blocks running lengthwise with the 2x4 going down the center. So there is a massive amount of support. There's more support on these 2x4s with those 2 cinders running down each side. Basically I took a 4-foot section this way and put a cinder block running the same length as the joist, right down dead center of 4 foot, dead center of 4 foot. So it is very, very beefy as far as floor joist things. I could drive a car on here, and I highly doubt it would break anything, because it's got a lot of support underneath it. So, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that explains it. Jeremy, when do you think you'll finish the guest cabin slash storage slash guest cabin? When do you think you'll finish the build? Another good question. Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you. Basically, especially this time of year, where I could be having rain, or as this morning, I had a little skip of snow. It melted off by 8 o'clock in the morning, but I had a little skip of snow. So whenever I get the rest of the stuff, I basically have to have everything that I need to build the walls, put siding out there on them, and a roof. So I don't have an answer for you. It's going to take a moment. I will say that the walls, I'm going to do a twist, a build twist. Something that probably nobody will even imagine that I'm going to do. But when I do it, it's going to be fun, and it's actually going to be stronger than just regular 2x4 framed walls. And I hope that wind isn't messing up my answer. Okay, well that's going to wrap up this week's Q&A number 8. I'm curious to know if anybody notices any subtle changes in this week's sit down Q&A. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. If you're so inclined, there is a PayPal and Venmo links that you can choose to donate whatever you want, or you can join the Patreon for $5 a month, where you'll get some extra content and maybe a hint at what the subtlety is in this week's Q&A. All right. Otherwise, click like, hit subscribe, stay tuned, lots of great content coming up. I'm Jeremy, and this is my garden.